So for more insight into the story, we now welcome Brooke Goldstein, co-producer of that documentary, The Making of the Martyr, and executive director of the Lawfare Project. Brooke, thank you so much for joining us on this day. So, as we just heard there, Zakaria al-Zubadi is one of 6 terrorists on the run. You had a rare opportunity to interview him years ago. One is struck by the ease with which he describes killing people. Talk us through his state of mind at that time when you met him.
So you said it perfectly. I mean, he just sat there in front of the camera and described to us with absolutely no qualms whatsoever how he intentionally recruits innocent Palestinian children to become suicide homicide bombers. In fact, the Al-Aqsa Martyr Brigades, another faction as well, after we did that interview, gave us a block of hash, which was the same hash that they use to give to children before they go on suicide homicide attacks, so that they are not of the state of mind to understand what is happening. Now, I just want to comment on what the guest before me just said, that these Palestinian prisoners are heroes. Zubaydi is personally responsible for recruiting over 16 Palestinian children, strapping bombs on them, and some of them blowing them up by remote control. So if the Palestinians, and I do not think they do, but according to this guest, if they revere a murderer of their own children, what does that say about the society? In fact, Zakaria himself is a product of UNRWA, the United Nations Relief Works Agency school, amongst other things that happened in his past that radicalized him. But the UNRWA school specifically teaches innocent Palestinian children to commit acts of terror and thus ruin their chances for normalcy and a normal future, and indoctrinates them towards violence.
So talk to us about his insights at the time about exactly that. How did he justify suicide attacks when he spoke to you, taking innocent lives of Israeli civilians? Tell us more.
Well, it's a poignant question, and especially in light of the clip that you just played, which is where Zakaria was explaining to us. In fact, he was justifying how he recruited children. He said, as you saw in the clip, that they come to him, and they come to him willingly, and they ask him 3 or 4 or 5 times, and if he didn't give them a bomb, they would just use a knife instead, or so he claims. But what he is really saying is that the level of indoctrination that is targeting innocent Palestinian children, whether it's from their political leaders, their media, as you just saw, their religious leaders, their school textbooks, television programs, you name it, these children are being taught that the greatest thing that they should aspire to is to become a suicide homicide bomber, is to become someone like Zakaria Zubaydi, who spends his life killing innocent people. And when we interviewed Zakaria, after the interview, he took us for a walk in the streets of Jenin, and it was very clear, as you see here, children were giving him high fives, coming up to him. He is a hero to them. And this is a systemic problem that has to be changed. You're not going to have peace in the Middle East with Oslo Accords and handshakes. You're going to have peace when children, innocent Muslim children, are not being targeted and taught violence is the solution.
Your thoughts to that exact point, Brooks, about a man like this being on the run. How worried should Israel be, not only about future attacks by this group, but also the impact of this breakout on other terror groups, even lone wolf attacks? Your insights.
Well, of course, there's always a worry when you're in Israel about terrorism. But I think what is even more concerning is what seems to be the highest level of negligence of the Israeli prison authorities to house these top-level terrorists with what I read this morning was a northern guard tower that had been unmanned for months. When I first heard of the story, I thought it was a joke. I mean, what is this, the Shawshank Redemption? How is it that these terrorists with blood on their hands are escaping from Israeli prisons? This is what worries me the most.
Well, in a new development on that exact point, we now know that a commission is going to be set up to look into exactly that. As you say, a lot of unanswered questions. We appreciate your insights into this developing situation. Brooke Goldstein, Executive Director of the Lawfare Project and co-producer of the documentary, The Making of the Martyr. Thank you so much for joining us on this day and sharing your insights.
Thank you.